Hey there, Alatreon. What is it, Safi'jiiva? You wanna know something? Sure. You suck! Yeah, well, you know what, Safi? What, Alatreon? I'm gonna burn all your babies! Damn you, Black Dragon!
Two dragons, one of red, one of black. A fierce rivalry. A war across the aeons. Gods of destruction, each trying to reign supreme. Hello, fellow hunters. There is a lot going on when it comes to Alatreon and Safi'jiiva. There is a connection. There is a reason for Alatreon's visit. And wouldn't that be interesting to find out?
Right. Which is why I think we should look into the connection between Alatreon and that red monster.
Never speak again!
So, there is a lot to look at here. I mean, first and foremost, okay, Alatreon is a black dragon, and black dragons are the tippy top of the food chain, and that includes above humans too. They are beyond powerful, walking apocalypses. They are unearthly, unnatural, and they are terrifying. They are also very intelligent. Arguably at least that of human level. They think, and they plan, and they know. Fatalis, the greatest, arguably, of all the black dragons, and certainly the monster that stands above all others, decided to end a war by winning it single-handedly and reducing the ancient civilization, the Kingdom of Shrade, to naught but silent rubble. Black dragons are then, quite obviously, to be feared. Yes, even still, they are to be feared. But here is the question then, here is the crux. What does a black dragon fear? Because I think the answer might well be a red one. Yes, a red dragon, of which Safi'jiiva bears the title. He is also known as the ultimate being. His baby form Zeno is the emperor of all elder dragons, and that's still baby form. I think there is every chance that we have not seen the last of the Jiiva line. I mean, for a start, just to really set things in motion, the area where you fight Alatreon.
Alatreon?
Alatreon.
Alatreon?
Alatreon, okay? I'm not changing how I say it!
That area is filled with, well, cocoons. Lots and lots and lots of Xeno'jiiva cocoons, or more accurately, you could definitely say eggs, given we now know Zeno is a newly hatched baby who has some growing up into Safi to do. Now, the thing is, they are open, at least most of them are. There are a few that are still whole, but they are very much a lot of them. A lot more Xeno'jiivas running amok. And this is, again, the bottom layer of Safi'jiiva's layer. So to me, it would seem that Safi'jiiva, the one that we fight, the one that we slay, is definitely in the realm of a Mama Jiiva. So the secluded valley, not just Safi'jiiva's, well, home nest, it is Safi'jiiva's literal nest, where it is looking after and nurturing its clutch. That, or the Safi'jiiva that we fight, was just one of the ones that hatched in this room, and then it proceeded to break into its brothers and sisters' cocoons, devour them too, absorb their essence, and use them as sustenance to grow the biggest and strongerest of the entire, well, let's say batch. Which, you know, is, gruesome as that is something that happens. There are sharks that devour each other literally in the womb until
Only one can remain! The lead shark!
Are you not entertained?
that then spends the rest of its time there, slowly eating through the, remains and yolk of its now slain siblings until it is born in the world triumphant. And look, it would not surprise me if that's how an essence-absorbing stealing monster operates. But the point being is that there is a lot of Safi'jiiva, Xeno'jiiva action going on in the secluded valley. Now, we know that these cocoons were open, hatched, done with way back in the Safi'jiiva siege, because we see them in much the same state then as we do in the Alatreon fight. So it's not happened since then. So why Alatreon and why now? Well, there is definitely a connection between Alatreon and Safi'jiiva. The various NPCs wouldn't be hammering on about it if it wasn't some sort of foreshadowing. Maybe it's for the far future in another game, or maybe it's for another Iceborne update down the line, but either way they are setting up for a continued bit of story relating to these two creatures and the secluded valley. And they do specify that Alatreon didn't show up just to have a fight. And that makes sense because Alatreon, despite his immense power, is very much a loner. He spends his time in volcanoes, wastelands, at the bottom of the ocean, just so he can be as far away from all other living things as possible. Honestly, he's my kind of dragon. And this means that for him to, come out from that hiding, there has to be a triggering factor. So option one, it is the secluded valley, right? It is a hidden location within a hidden location, both of which we just kind of accidentally stumbled upon, having been living near them for 50 goddamn years. This place is not easy to find, and there is no endemic life running around. There is no signs of life other than the Safi'jiiva we found there. So perhaps this place is simply the home of an Alatreon. They exist, much like the Sacred Land volcano we fight him in the previous games. Alatreons do claim a bit of territory, and it is completely possible that the secluded valley for the most secluded monster is a prime choice, and this Alatreon was simply returning home, only to find that in the meantime, in his absence, wherever he was, has now been claimed and is in use as a Xeno'jiiva, Safi'jiiva nesting site. And of course, he's not best pleased with that because he doesn't like things nearby that are breathing. So he goes on a little bit of a rampage, burns it all down in an effort to claim back his territory. Or, of course, it could be the literal valley itself. There could be something about the place, some mysterious energy, or some mysterious creature lying in wait, something more powerful than anything we have seen before, like a super Xeno'jiiva attracting super powerful entities to die and be absorbed there. There could be something very much yet to be discovered. The connection between Safi and Alatreon could be the environment in which they were drawn to and not necessarily each other. There's something about the energy-rich location that is the secluded valley, something about the energy itself. Maybe it's a giant trap, and the center of it is something that we will find in perhaps the final update as a new black dragon or black dragon-like monster or something along those lines. But this to me seems a little bit too almost coincidental, like it's a little bit anticlimactic, so let's examine what I think potentially option 2 is. Now, the field team leader does mention that if these two were to fight, it would be a unprecedented disaster. No matter which one of them wins, we lose. They are beings of such strength that that kind of, let's say turf war would really be the end of the humans in the New World. And that also, of course, implies that Safi'jiiva is capable of fighting Alatreon. Now, on a pure size basis, Safi'jiiva's got this covered, but we know the kind of raw elemental fury Alatreon brings to the table, and it would be quite the titanic clash. But this gives credence to the idea that the Red Dragons stand as a match, perhaps as a counterpoint to the Black Dragons, and I do like that counterpoint idea, because we've seen Safi'jiiva and Xeno'jiiva, they take in bioenergy, life energy into themselves and convert it, they mold it, they use it to heal themselves, Safi'jiiva especially, rapidly, unnaturally so. They very much shape that energy. And then the Black Dragons also manipulate life in their own way, by manipulating it from being life to death. So you could definitely argue that the Red Dragons are the more beings of life and the Black Dragons the more beings of death, but that might be a little bit too abstract for a Monster Hunter game. So let's look at reason 2, and I alluded to this at the beginning, but Black Dragons, or maybe Alatreon specifically, fear, or at least have a healthy rivalry with the Red Dragons, such that if a Black Dragon gets wind of a Red Dragon's existence, well, it pays them a visit and tries to end them. And how would an Alatreon know that Safi'jiiva is active? Well, us meddling hunters decided to, get to meddling and hunt Safi'jiiva, which of course causes Safi'jiiva to defend itself. And how does it defend itself? By expelling the most colossal amounts of pure energy we have ever seen. And this to something as sensitive to energy, to the elements, as an Alatreon, a being melded with the elements themselves, a being of unstable energy, although less unstable in his New World version, but still, that is going to shine across the land like a beacon, drawing it to investigate. How could it resist? These are intelligent creatures, and if this rivalry is in fact a thing, perhaps both instinctually and deliberately, it will seek down this type of energy, knowing that it is likely produced by the Red Dragon, and attempt to slay it or attempt to stop it. So maybe pick a fight is not the most accurate way of saying it. Maybe it's deeper than a simple, argument, let's say. Perhaps it is a much more terrifying event for an Alatreon, for a Black Dragon, when a Red Dragon rises to power. See, I don't think that Safi'jiiva was at its final stage. I don't think that the Xeno'jiiva line is a 2-stage evolution. I think we're dealing with a 3-stage evolution here. Or at least something along those lines, because there is a reason that Safi'jiiva was still absorbing energy when we got there, still guzzling it. Perhaps, yes, it's just sustenance, that's what it eats, for want of a better word, that's what keeps it living. But I feel like they are creatures that just keep evolving and growing. Xeno to Safi is a huge physical and biological change. They look so different. It is not out of the realms of possibility that Safi can go then a stage further if it absorbs yet more energy, yet enough energy. So perhaps Alatreon is well aware of that and needs to get it before that happens. Perhaps the stage after Safi is a stage that even a Black Dragon cannot contend with. Perhaps it is something unlike anything we have fought before. Maybe it is something that even a Fatalis cannot go toe-to-toe with. And I don't think that's too crazy to think. What better way to end Iceborne than to throw a threat at us that outranks what we currently know to be the strongest monster? And I said it a while back, right? After Alatreon, what do? Well, you do Fatalis. But then after Fatalis, what the hell could you follow that up with? Well, the answer is a new Black Dragon, or perhaps in this case, the final form of Safi'jiiva, a fully realized red dragon, and a true rival that black dragons fear. Perhaps that is the path that we are going to take here. There is certainly indication that a Fatalis is on his way, and that is something I will cover in another video because that is very exciting. But for right now, this Alatreon Safi'jiiva rivalry. And I think that rivalry in itself is supported by Alatreon's own actions. When we get to the nest, when we get to him, he gives us what looks to be a little warning shot, a fireball to say hello, before proceeding to go on what looks to be an absolute little tantrum. But I would argue that perhaps Alatreon hasn't really noticed us at this point, perhaps doesn't really care, that fireball that seems to be aimed at us is actually just the initial fireball to start the burning of the cocoons, the burning of this Safi'jiiva nest. He is undeniably, deliberately targeting these strands of skin, the material that makes up the cocoon. He very much sets the entire area ablaze wherever there is traces of a Safi'jiiva. Then once he's done, once he's content, once as far as he knows his extermination job is complete, he has a bit of a hello, and then notices the hunter and battle begins. But it would seem until that point he is literally there to exterminate all traces of Safi'jiiva. And I think that is incredibly telling. I think that is, in a nutshell, how deep their hatred goes. If at the first whiff of a nest of these creatures, he is on his way out of seclusion to completely annihilate it. And to my mind, the only reason for such an extreme response from such a powerful, lonely creature that normally has no reason to care about anything other than itself is that if he doesn't do this, it is negative for him. That it is an instinct to wipe out something that could be a threat. That if it's left unchecked, a Safi'jiiva will develop into something that is a threat to even a black dragon. And the thing is, we've gone and put our foot in it now, because we have killed a black dragon in the heart of a nest of creatures that absorb monster energy and use it to get stronger. And not just any black dragon, the black dragon boiling with energy of all of the elements. So maybe, just maybe, we have handed another Safi'jiiva in the area the key to unlocking his true potential, the key to unlocking his final form. Perhaps this is something that hasn't happened before. Perhaps this is the first time a Safi'jiiva gets to have a little black dragon essence. And perhaps we are going to fight a Safi'jiiva variant, a black dragon infused one. What would make more sense than that, than the merging of black and red dragon in variant form in an expansion dedicated to so many variants and their use? That would be something truly special to my mind. So in essence then, well, red dragons, black dragons, rivals. Alatreon's like, I'm not having any of that. Flies on over to the secluded valley to put an end to it. Gets stopped and killed by us, which ironically is going to give a lurking Safi'jiiva just the right juice he needs, or perhaps one unopened cocoon, because there are some that haven't hatched yet. Perhaps it's going to give that just the right infusion to become something greater than anything we have ever seen before. And that is something that I am very excited about, and I cannot wait to see how this plays out. I hope we get the answers. I hope all this NPC discussion isn't just flavor, and it is alluding to a further update down the line, the next step in the story of Safi'jiiva. Because to me, this is Safi'jiiva's story, and Alatreon is simply playing a part in it. A cameo, if you will. and I, for one, need me to hunt whatever comes next. But that's just my take on it, or a take on it, or something that would be cool. It's entirely possible that it is a much more mundane explanation, as these things tend to be, so, I mean, we will see. But until then, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up.